one thing I did want to like push on to, because we have been talking about adulting, and so far I think we've talked about putting a structure in place. Why are we doing that? Because we want an end goal, right? We want to hit a target, and that's what we want our life to be like. In achieving that target, how do you value the everyday of life, the simple things? What do you think they're important? They're bigger than what we make them to be, or do you think they should stay the same because they are simple things? They should just be parts of our life, you know? And what are those things for yourself?
Bro, this is a fantastic question, honestly, because this is actually the biggest inflection point right now in my life, the biggest decision I'm having to make, because all these things that I've started to do are becoming more and more complex. You know, like I figured out what I want to do, like you said, and it's just about making more and more of them. But when you start doing something, anything, right, that thing can become more and more complex because you start wanting to improve it. Like, for example, the podcast. So I want to involve more people, do more things. But that's different. That lifestyle is different from the lifestyle I had at the beginning. So like at the beginning, before I made the jump to do the podcast, my life was simple. I would go out on loads of walks. So I'd wake up, journal, work out, go on walks, think, write, read. That was simple because that made me clarity and peace of mind to actually know what I want to do in my life. But now I'm like meeting people and like going on networking events and like doing this with people, sitting down, talking to them, going to like doing all these different things, and that moves me away from that simple life that I had. So now I'm thinking to myself, actually, if I want to keep this going, I have to return to that simple life because that's actually what's going to sustain me. So a large part of my life now is like thinking, okay, how do I still have the simple life, which is why I keep saying like let's go on walks and stuff like that, because that helps me calm my mind down. You know, like how do I still keep that going? You know, the simple life of just like seeing family members, going on walks, spending time alone, reading, you know, that kind of, and then balance that with this. And it's hard to figure out. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think that's probably going to be the biggest inflection point. You know, like I want to live a simple life. I know we talk about it all the time, so that's the question I want to have for you also. Like we talk about it all the time. Like I want to have a life where it's just simple. I'm out in the sticks, a little bit outside London. You know, I can go around, walk around, and that be my life. But obviously, I still want to be able to do stuff. You know, but finding that balance has always been difficult for me because I get pulled into one. You know, if I'm out there chilling in the park somewhere, I'm not thinking about this. I'm thinking of just being there. But I think that balance of both is actually the important thing. You know, finding the balance between those. Have you found that balance? What would you say about
I wish I did. Maybe it's like this utopia that we think exists. Maybe some people have it, but it's almost like you're trying to have the perfect balance of both things, and that doesn't exist because it's literal perfection, right? It's like, for example, you want to live in London, pay outskirts prices, but have access to all these multicultural things, and you know, it's just unrealistic as well. I mean, maybe we're adopted to think like that with the way it's gone. But no, it's like I said at the start, maybe it's this utopia that we're all chasing, where we want the perfect balance, and everyone has their own idea of what it can be. Some people... Go on. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, what's that simple life look like for you? Because I've been thinking about that too, right? What is it, I'm chasing the simple life. Like I've mentioned, walking out in parks and all. But what does that look like, really?
The person dependent, right? So if you're asking for me, it'd be a place where the ideal country would be serving the public. You have public amenities easily available. There's an importance on healthcare and education for everyone, where it's not demographically based to suit certain areas in the country. Not gonna, you know what I mean? Like it's like, come on, everyone deserves at least the education to be given a chance at something. Whether they take that chance after is up to them. Then you can at least say, we've given you your hand, you've not done well with it. But yeah, we're trying to chase that balance, like I said, in my opinion. We also want housing, right? So again, like I said, it's person dependent. So to us I have a partner, you're single, you wouldn't care about like a 3-story house with 5 bedrooms. Nice to have, but it's not ideal, do you know what I mean? But you want that balance of, again, you want to earn that money, but you also want the green spaces where you can walk around.
Yeah, the peace of mind.
Exactly,
right?
the peace of mind. If you have a family, you want to raise it where there's less crime. Again, that's balance. Will you be getting that in certain areas of London? No. So you have to, again, you're moving away from that. Then you're going to earn less money if you move further away from London. It's again, it's like a utopia. We're trying to chase it. Whether it exists or not, certain people have found it. Some people have got lucky finding it because their current position. But then also they have things in life that they're going through we don't know about.
Exactly.
That's kind of shifting the balance the other way in terms of what we see. They might live in a nice house and have like the perfect commute. They don't have to work. They can wake up like going to the coffee shops, doing Pilates, doing this, that. Perfect life from the outskirts, but they're going through some other personal stuff that we don't know about that's pushing the balance the other way. So yeah, maybe it doesn't exist. Is my answer, honestly.
I'll go on that. I think you're 100% right though. It's like, it's so difficult because we look at someone else's life and think, oh my God, they're going to figure it out. Like I always say this on my channel. I'm just like everyone else. Like I say this to all my friends, like, dude, like I'm like struggling with like finding the balance. I'm struggling with like being disciplined. I'm struggling with like motivation sometimes, and it's like, but because of how productive I seem, it seems like people have it figured out. And I think that's an interesting thing about our culture, where we look at how productive someone is and go, oh, that means they got their life figured out. When it's two complete different things. Like your goals and the things that you achieve and the things that you go after, that is not your life. I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to get at. It's like having things to go after, having meaning in your life, making progress. I think when I was a bit younger, I thought, well, if I have that figured out, I have my life figured out. But it's no, because those are two different things, like.
Let's dive deeper into that one, because that segues perfectly into my next question. I love when that happens. It makes my job so much easier. I know how it feels now. But as you were saying, when you were younger, you were thinking about certain things of what you wanted to achieve when you were an older adult, right? How has that reality differed, like what you're going through now, to when you were a younger adult or a teenager? And you thought, oh, by the time I'm 25, I'm going to be married. By the time I'm 28, I want to have this perfect house with this wife and kids, blah, 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 perfect job. How has it differed, and what are the new things that you would have told your younger self that, this shit's not real. It's not realistic to think this is going to happen by here. There's so many steps along the way. So what would you say to your younger self?
I think, definitely 100% right. I think I've seen the realities of it. And I think what I didn't think of it was the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of going after one thing is you're not going after the other thing. Like the opportunity cost of going full on into your goals and just thinking about I'm going to do all these different things means that you're not spending time looking for a partner, let's say, which is the position I've ended up in. It's like, yes, of course, it's great that I've figured out what I want. And I think that's a large part of what the younger version of me, like I was saying before, would want. It's like, oh, I want to achieve these goals by this age because this is what's important to me. But if I had to go back and talk to him, I'd be like, bro, like, yes, you want to achieve those goals by this age, but understand what you're giving up. Understand what the trade that you're making, because it is a trade, right? You trade your time that you spend so much time walking in the park, whatever, thinking about, okay, how do I formulate a podcast? How do I do this? How do I do that? That's fine. That's great. And I wouldn't change that because, again, that's part of the growth that I've had to endure in order to get to this stage, right? But also just finding time for things, Like I'm pretty happy in my life, to be fair. But I know that there's a lot of stuff that if I was to do it again, the balance that I'll try to find would be more early on, which is pretty good because this is still early on. But like finding the balance early on, finding a life that is sustainable. It's not about the peaks. It's about how can you sustain it and keeping that ability to kind of keep going. Where like you can live a life every day that you're happy with. For a lot of the time before, I would be so disciplined and so focused on like doing the things like regularly and like being productive and that I would burn out. Honestly, I would burn out by saying like after 6 months because I'd be like, man, like I'm tired. Like I'd be doing all these things. I'm going here, but I don't really have time to rest because I didn't make time for that. I didn't make time to just chill and just like not do anything because I felt the pressure over myself to continue to produce because I knew that back then that's what I wanted, and it's a large part of it. And I think I want to talk to you about this too. Like the things that get us to one place aren't the things that are going to get us to the next place. So the things about me talking to myself about, okay, I need to be more productive, I need to be more disciplined, more motivated. That was good for the 21-year-old version of me, right? But 25 years old, having done some of those things, is not what's going to get me to the next stage. Next stage in my life is actually I need to be more relaxed. I need to be more able to do all these things, but with like less pressure on myself, with less kind of like deadlines and while still keeping the productivity going, So I think that's the stage I'm at now, trying to figure that out. What do you think about that?
I mean, you make perfect sense, to be honest. It's essentially, to give you like an example for those that go to the gym, when you first start going to the gym, there's obviously ego lifting involved, right? You come into the gym, you're this fresh person, you see a lot of people lifting big weights, and you're like, I want to do that, I want to do that someday. So you essentially, you start off slow, and then you see very quick gains. It's working for you at that time. And then you get to that point where, do you know what? You can start upping the weight by 10, by 20 kg, and like basically try and match these people, right? But it works then. It's not this. And then when you get older and you go to the gym over a 2-year period, you're like, there's no point in me doing that. There's so many other ways, and you go so hard into it. You treat yourself, you're so tough on yourself if you can't hit this weight. And it relates to what you're saying, but it's just in this specific scenario, right? So when you're older, you have more wisdom. You just have that perspective to take more time on certain things. You look at things with a broader picture almost. I don't know why when you're younger, everything's like sort of closed off. You're like, this is the goal, I need to hit it. And you don't see the other different things that are going to be like sort of obstacles in your way. Maybe it's a bit naive. It comes with being that age as well. But yeah, being 25 and deep into adulthood, maybe that's the right path. You need to, I need to get to that point, but let's take a step back, breathe, internalize what this is. Exactly.
Figure out how that journey looks like.
Goes back to like enjoying the simple things, I want to climb the corporate ladder. You were speaking about certain people that you work with. They are deep into that rat race, but you're saying they're not against it. They know that's the reality, that's how they bring money in, but along this, they're also still enjoying their lives. They've still got their own hobbies, and it was what I was saying to you ages ago. You don't have to, not everyone's built for a business, not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur. Some people have to have that structure that's set in place for them, right? And then they have to find other things that they enjoy alongside it, and then they find that balance. Again, we spoke about this briefly off the podcast, and Jeff asked me the question about, what do you think adulthood is? And if I'm being honest, it's just decisions. And the older you get, the more weight those decisions like impact your future self, and the margin for error decreases ever so slightly as you get
making big decisions or making small decisions.
Every decision you make, I mean, I think that margin for error goes smaller as you get older. But it's just making decisions upon decisions upon decisions. Whether you make the decisions to wake up in the morning, meditate, will affect how you are later in the day. Whether you then make the decision to go on a food shop will affect you later on in the week. 'Cause I'm not going to have enough food to eat. I'm going to have to order, spend more money. It's just decisions. Long-term decisions, short-term decisions. By the time, at the end of the day, the effective point of adulthood is just making decisions.
You mentioned about how, like, over time, the margin for error decreases.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think the margin of error decreases? And also, like, do you think that's a myth we tell ourselves? Or do you think that's an actual, like, but it's because this is life, bro.
You're going to die. I'm sorry to break this to certain people. I mean, unless some of you live to the point where we discover this magic electronic thing where we just insert into our consciousness into it, and
Elon Musk figures
do you know what I mean? Elon Musk figures out. Well, I don't know. I'm not confident in his abilities. But yeah, we're gonna die. Essentially, that's why. So that's why as you get older, every key decision, for example, working, right? People, I mean, every time people say that this is more of a limitation they place on themselves, but as you get to like 30, 40, they say you're less inclined to change career paths, and maybe they're right. Maybe, like, for example, oil rigs, right? To work in an oil rig, they tend to prefer younger people. So if you're older and you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, they tend to, even though you have the experience, they sometimes pick people that are more on the younger end, or they're more hungrier. It's a myth. That doesn't mean the 50-year-old is not hungry. He still wants to make money, right? He's still ready to work, but they'll be, looked down upon. So these are societal pressures that get placed on these people. So that's why that margin for error again decreases. So you can't switch that job randomly. And yeah, essentially that's my point, man. Go on.
I think it's so interesting too, because like it feels like, because a lot of part, right? I think about this, right? About like, because it feels like the older we get, the more we have clarity about what we want. But if the margin of error decreases the older we get, then it means that we're forced when we're younger to make decisions that we're actually not ready for. You know, in a sense. Because, like, if you had told me if you had asked me what I want to do at 18 years old, which, like, to be honest, I knew that I wanted to not do business. But that's the thing I chose, because I was like, you know what, I want to at least have some idea of, like, what I'm doing in the next couple of years. But at 25, I have much more of an idea. But that 7-year gap, like, I couldn't have just not done anything. Like, there was no way I was not going to do anything. So I have to do something in that time. So it's about thinking to myself right now. It's like, yes, you're right. The margin of error does decrease because we're going to die. But the older I get, the more I know myself. The more I know that actually, if I make this decision, I'm more sure about that's going to be the decision I want to make for the next 5 years. This thing I'm more sure about that decision. I'm not going to change it after a year. I'm not going to be like, what am I doing in this uni? You know, I know a lot of people like that. You know, they're making a decision to go uni or do a course, and then they're like, I hate this. Why am I doing this? And it's like, well, yeah, because at that age, you know, maybe you're not comfortable enough to make the decision you actually should be making, and you need that kind of couple of years to mess up, to come back and be like, actually, I did that. That's not for me. I want to do this. And so it's so fascinating to see, like, how, like, the older I get and the more I see decisions come and go, the more I see regrets come and go, the more I get more comfortable in making those decisions. And I think that's what makes adulthood so interesting and so difficult to pin down, because I would have said I was an adult when I was like 18 years old. But, like, looking back now, I was not an adult, you know, but I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to have the responsibility to make the decisions and to fail in my own way, you know. But now I know that actually I needed to have all of that time as just, like, building blocks, you know. And it's funny because I know, I'm saying this right now, 25 years old, I know the 35-year-old version of me will look at me and be like, that guy was an idiot. What was he talking about? So hello, 35-year-old Jeff. I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. Whatever decision I ended up making, I did it in my chest. But you know what I mean, though. It's like, especially especially in this day and age, right? Because you see, like, a lot of your friends, people around you, would do stuff, you know, and then you always want more. We always want more. We always want to do more. We always want to do better in our position. In terms of, like, if I'm in a position, right, and, like, say I work, for example, right, I'll be there and I'll be comfortable there. But even that comfortability will get to me, because I'm too comfortable. And it's like, what does that even mean? You know?
The perfect balance is a myth. It doesn't exist.
We have to try to find it.
Because you just said it, right? You will always keep searching for something more, right? And then there's always that, like, grass is always green on the other side. If you're in the sticks, you're enjoying life, fresher air, better water. We're not drinking sewage, you know. It's bottled water, it's fine. Yeah. So then you have drawbacks of, again, being there. So it's never going to be perfect. You gotta just keep finding what works for you. And that will probably change. What's working for you now, again, like I said, your circumstance might change in 10 years where you have a kid. The same goals are not going to matter. You know, you might have to, change the format of your podcast. Daddy's daycare. With your son, little kid on the side.
Like 1 year old, like, what does it mean in life?
Exactly.
Jeff Jr.
But yeah, speaking to you about, like, again, the whole theme of this being adulting and how it's made you feel so far, are there any goals that you're setting, or do you want to would you just prefer to, like, free throw it? Just, let's see where life takes me, or you want that rigid structure that you can follow?